Religion, a Ghosts Movement essay. There is a strange consistency that runs through human history, one that survives oceans, languages, empires, and centuries. Long before global communication, long before shared text or coordinated belief systems, people across the world began speaking about the same interior events. They described encounters with something larger than themselves. They spoke of unity, of dissolution, of overwhelming meaning. They told stories of surrender and return, of light and darkness, of compassion rising after collapse. These stories appeared in deserts and forests, in temples and caves, in oral traditions and written scripture. They arrived wrapped in different metaphors, carried by different cultures, shaped by different political climates. Yet beneath the surface they carried the same structure. Something opened, something was felt, and something could not be fully translated. This repetition is difficult to explain if we assume each religion emerged independently, guided only by local imagination. It becomes less mysterious if we consider another possibility, that human beings, under certain conditions, enter a shared interior territory. That consciousness itself contains depths most of us rarely touch, and that occasionally someone crosses into that depth and returns altered, carrying impressions too large for language. Call this territory the realm, not as a mystical place, not as a supernatural dimension, but as a state of being in which ordinary perception reorganizes. In the realm, the familiar sense of self loosens, time stretches or collapses, pattern recognition spikes, emotional boundaries dissolve, meaning floods awareness. People describe it differently, but the architecture of the experience remains remarkably consistent. Some feel it as God, some as emptiness, some as source, some as total silence, some refuse all names entirely. What matters is not the label, but the pattern. Identity softens, the world feels whole, consciousness becomes porous. People arrive in the realm through many doorways: prayer, exhaustion, silence, childbirth, trauma, near death, deep love, loss, meditation, breath, psychedelics, land-based ritual, cacao ceremonies, astrology charts, vibration language, ancestral memory, what today gets called 5D realities. Some arrive without any spiritual framing at all, in hospital rooms, on long walks, while staring out of windows, sitting on kitchen floors, at 3 in the morning when everything familiar has fallen away. The nervous system does not care how the door opens. Modern spiritual cultures are not deviations from history. They are contemporary translation attempts. Ancient traditions spoke of angels and burning bushes. Today people speak of frequencies, dimensions, plant intelligence, neural pathways. Scientists describe altered default mode networks. Atheists speak of consciousness states. Earth-based practitioners feel it through land and ritual. Psychedelic explorers meet it through substances. None of these invalidate the experience underneath. They simply reveal the language available in the moment. No doorway owns the realm, and entering it does not make someone wiser, kinder, or morally superior. It does not grant authority. It does not guarantee clarity. History is full of people who touched depth and still caused harm. The experience itself is not virtue. It is exposure. Across history, stories appear of teachers and figures who touched something beyond ordinary awareness. Some are named, some are not. Some may have been one person. Some may be many voices folded into one memory. Some may be symbolic. It does not matter. What survives is not the person. What survives is the shape of the encounter. These figures remain in cultural memory not because they were unique, but because their translations endured. Their words travelled. Their metaphors found homes in communities. Their experiences became repeatable through ritual and story. They did not invent the realm. They witnessed it. And they returned carrying something that did not arrive in words. Religion begins here, not as doctrine, not as hierarchy, not as institution, but as someone trying to stabilize an encounter that cannot be held directly. Someone enters the realm and comes back changed. They attempt to describe what happened using whatever symbols are available to them. Their culture supplies metaphors. Their education shapes vocabulary. Their time offers frameworks. A person formed by parable speaks of love. A person shaped by ascetic practice speaks of suffering and release. Indigenous teachers speak through land and ancestors. Modern seekers speak of vibration, dimensions, or consciousness. Different interfaces, same underlying encounter. Over time, these translations harden. Stories become teachings. Teachings become rules. Rules become systems. Systems become institutions. Sometimes this takes generations. Sometimes centuries. None of this requires malice. It requires continuity. Human beings need shared meaning, repetition, safety, memory, inheritance. Doctrine does not exist because people are controlling. It exists because experiences fade, bodies die, children need stories, communities need coherence. The download is not the institution. The institution is an attempt to carry the download forward. Power enters later, unevenly, differently in every tradition, but the sequence remains. Living encounters become stabilized. Fluid meaning becomes fixed. What was once felt becomes prescribed. This does not invalidate religion. It explains it. Institutions are not the source of the sacred. They are its containers. Sometimes they protect it. Sometimes they obscure it. Often they do both. What often gets lost is access. Religion begins with someone touching the realm and trying to bring others with them. Over generations, attention shifts from the territory itself to the maps drawn around it. People learn prayers without entering the silence beneath them. They inherit rituals without touching the depth they were designed to point toward. The structure remains, but the doorway fades into background, and so humans keep finding new ways back in. Yet alongside the realm, there is something quieter still, not a state, not an experience, not a moment of dissolution, a direction. Within and after these encounters, many people sense a subtle leaning in their lives, a gentle forwardness that does not announce itself with clarity. This is the pull. The pull is not what people enter. The realm is entered. The pull is what continues to move through them afterwards. It is not completion. It is orientation. The realm widens awareness. The pull tilts it. People misunderstand the pull because they expect revelation or instruction. But the pull does not behave that way. It is barely perceptible, a faint inclination, a quiet inner shift that tells you the moment you are in is not the end of the story. It is what keeps you moving when you do not know why, what opens you when you feel closed, what draws you towards certain people, certain experiences, certain truths, what helps you return to yourself after collapse. Sometimes it shows itself in very ordinary moments. Standing in a doorway, knowing you cannot stay in this version of your life, even though you have no idea what comes next. Ending a relationship without being able to justify it to anyone else. Reaching for someone you have not spoken to in years. These are not rational decisions. They are responses to orientation. Some feel the pull as longing, some as restlessness, some as recognition, some as the quiet sense that they are walking towards something, even while standing still. A tree does not grow because it wants to. It grows because it is pulled upward by something it cannot see. The pull works the same way. It draws you toward the next shape of your life, not through striving, but through inevitability. The pull is not benevolent or malevolent. It is structural. It is not concerned with comfort. It is concerned with unfolding. Mystery remains intact here. The realm can be entered. The pull can be felt. What the pull gestures toward does not resolve in side explanation. Some call it God. Some call it source. Some call it the infinite. Some refuse names altogether. Whatever lies beyond the pull remains untouched by doctrine, sitting at the horizon of experience. The pull does not close reality, it keeps it open. Beyond that horizon, there may be other orders of being, other realms of existence, other forms of life, or simply an unknowable depth that no language can approach. Some imagine angels or ancestors, some imagine fairies or cosmic intelligences. Some sense only an unnamed weight behind reality. The pull does not define any of this. It simply carries the pressure of it into lived time. From this perspective, it does not matter whether prophets were chosen from beyond humanity or arose from within it. That question remains open. What can be felt is the pattern. Human beings sometimes become sites of encounter, and whatever moves through them arrives larger than explanation. They touch the realm, they return altered, and they live under the influence of the pull. They speak, they gather people, they organize meaning. Communities form, traditions grow, structures appear. But the pull itself cannot be captured. It does not belong to doctrine. It does not submit to institutions. It remains a quiet horizon. This does not belong to prophets. It belongs to parents holding newborns in the middle of the night, to people sitting beside hospital beds, to someone alone in their kitchen after everyone else has gone to sleep, to the moment exhaustion strips away pretense, to the breath that suddenly feels like it contains the whole world, to the pause that arrives without warning and leaves you staring at nothing in particular, knowing something has shifted. And maybe this is where it becomes simplest. Not in theology or consciousness or spiritual language, but in love. Love is the one place where the realm and the pull quietly meet everyday life. People feel it holding newborns, sitting beside dying parents, reaching for someone in the dark, staying when leaving would be easier. Love does not arrive as belief. It arrives as commitment, as ache, as the strange willingness to keep showing up even when nothing makes sense. Some call this God, some call it attachment, some call it chemistry, some call it soul. But whatever language you use, love carries the same signature. It pulls you beyond yourself. It widens your awareness. It orients your life around something that matters more than comfort. Religion has always tried to speak about this. Spiritual cultures keep finding new metaphors for it. Science maps parts of it. None of them own it. Love is where atheists and believers already stand on the same ground, even if they do not realize it. It is where mystics and parents and exhausted caregivers and quiet strangers on buses already share the same territory. You do not need to leave your faith to recognize this. You do not need to abandon skepticism. You do not need to adopt spiritual language. Love is already doing the work. And perhaps that is what has been unfolding beneath every tradition, every doctrine, every attempt to explain the unexplainable. Not a system, not a belief, but a human capacity to be moved beyond the edges of the self, to feel the realm open in ordinary moments, and to sense the pull guiding life forward through relationship, memory, and care. Across centuries and cultures, this same movement keeps returning to kitchens and hospital rooms and quiet streets. Someone makes tea, someone goes to work, someone holds a child, someone walks home in the rain. Beneath these ordinary movements, something continues to lean. That leaning is the pull. It does not promise answers. It does not offer completion. It simply reminds us again and again that our lives are already in motion towards something we cannot fully see, and that whatever name we give it, whatever story we build around it, it has been unfolding within us all along.